How's it going, folks? Yeah, caught me. I was sitting there listening to some Megadeth, waiting to start my apology. Yes, my apology, because today, the 5th of October, I'm here to tell you I got something wrong. Now, unlike the press, I don't hide my retractions on page 8. I give it to you right at the beginning of the next rant. So what did I get wrong yesterday? Well, yesterday I told you that there was an offensive column of armor in the Kherson region that got bloated up and failed. Yeah, they got bloated up, but they continued to move. So when I said that it failed miserably, no. In fact, actually, they compelled the Russians to withdraw. The Russians have now shortened their lines and gave up a significant amount of territory. So yes, I got it wrong. Absolutely, I got it wrong. And I'm not going to hide from it because unlike other people, I'm not invested in a certain narrative. I don't have a problem telling you that something's wrong, that I got something wrong. I'm totally fallible, folks. I've been married 3 times. Give me a break. So anyhow, I will tell you that the results of the withdrawal have been devastating. Psychologically, not tactically, not strategically. Tactically, they've given up ground, they've shortened their lines, they've improved their positions. Strategically, they've given up steppe land, wide open tracts of nothing. A village here or there that is pretty much uninhabited. So when you're acting like this is the end of the world, you don't quite got it right, okay? So we can talk about that, but I'm not really going to. What I want to talk about is a psychological effect. If you go looking for information in a lot of the places that I go looking at information, there's a profound effect. A lot of the same Russian bloggers who were panicking a month ago are panicking again. And it's almost the henny penny effect, the sky is falling. I will be quite honest with you, when I hear this, I raise an eyebrow. I say, hey, what is up? And I was able to confirm this morning before I decided I had to eat crow. I wanted to go ahead and confirm that, yes, indeed, the Russians had pulled back, and they have. Now, the other bloggers out there, the Russian bloggers, they're all, doom and gloom, everything else. I'll tell you what, there ain't no reason for doom and gloom. It's doom and gloom if you don't understand history, if you don't know the region, and you don't know everything that goes on. There's a word that I had remembered but forgotten the exact pronunciation. I had to talk to a Russian friend of mine this afternoon to get him to put the word out in English so I could practice it. The word is Rasputizia. And I probably still butchered the pronunciation. What is this? This is a traditional Russian word. This is a old Russian word. And it came into a great effect in World War II. What this is this the fall rains, the autumn rains. And what they do is they turn the roads and the fields to absolute shit, to a quagmire, a absolute muck hole. And I think I touched on this the other day. The Ukrainians are continuing to deploy their tanks across the steppe, and pretty soon the only avenues of approach they're going to be able to maneuver on for about the next 6 weeks are going to be asphalt roads. Now, what does that mean? Well, real simple. What that means, folks, is that all the Russians have to do is sit back, hunker down, and wait. Because once everything turns to shit, all you have to do is disable the roads, and then what you have is you have static targets of Ukrainian armor sitting in fields that can't move, and are going to be very susceptible to Russian artillery, to Russian kamikaze drones, to Russian missiles, to Russian this, to Russian that, to Russian offensive capabilities. And this will also be improved by the fact that there'll be a lack of cover. The leaves are already turning brown, and soon they'll be gone. And with that goes away the camouflage. The rains, the muck, all this does not bode well for the Ukrainians. And it's not like the Russians are impervious to this. They still have to deal with the immobility. But then again, they're not worried about their immobility right now. They're pretty much hunkered down. They're pretty much waiting for the 300,000 reinforcements to show up on the battlefield. And there's also a lot of suspicious things going on. The British, it's a reoccurring theme in the press that they all have a wary eye on the region of Belgorod and the regions of Belarus that border the Kharkov region. And they seem to be worried about that. In fact, there's even a story out in the press that the British Ministry of Defense have warned the Ukrainians against moving too quickly in the Kharkov region. Now, why would that be? Well, it would be that right now, at their back, seems to be a fairly large mass of Russian armored troops. Now you have to ask yourself, why are they sitting there? Well, I would imagine they're sitting there waiting for the time to strike. Now, I could be wrong. I was wrong yesterday. I was wrong, and it wasn't a guess of mine. It was pretty much what I had been told, but I did not corroborate the evidence, I didn't corroborate it with a lot of evidence. So therefore, I'm wrong today. But I can guarantee you from all the various reports I've seen and everything that there is a lot of truth to there being these larger formations in Belgorod and Belarus. And all they have to do is cross the border and cut the Ukrainian supply lines. That is also another thing. And I preach on logistics. So, at the beginning of the rainy season, you're allowing the Ukrainians to push forward. Now, what's happening to their supply lines? Their supply lines are becoming longer. They're becoming thinly stretched, and they're going to be reliant upon asphalt roads. Because the dirt roads, the country roads, and the fields are going to be impassable very, very soon. What's happening with the Russian supply lines? Well, they're becoming shortened. They're becoming more condensed. And they're hunkering down. So it doesn't take much for one to sit back and ponder a bit and be able to understand that Ukrainian supply is going to be quite susceptible to attack. Ukrainian troops are not going to be well supplied. And there's nothing quite like the doom and gloom of continuous rains, struggling against the ground where every time you step in the mud, it sucks your leg down, and continually have your friends killed, because the Ukrainians are about to experience that. Not that they're in a happy place, although I think they've probably, with the Russian withdrawals and their advances to occupy the territory that the Russians are giving up, I'm sure they right now think they have the world by the balls. False hope. Right now, I will tell you, I'm not wavering. I believe this is in the bag. The fact that people are moving chess pieces around the board, the Ukrainians are fighting for territory. The Russians aren't. The Russians have already, on paper at least, liberated the areas they wanted to liberate. And the Ukraine's actually now 20% smaller than what it was. Interesting, a lot of people today thought that Putin would probably, because everything's signed now, the referendums are over, the incorporation of the breakaway regions into the Russian Federation are now complete. Legally, everything's signed, and everyone expected Putin to come out today with some fiery words, maybe give an ultimatum to the Ukrainians to get the fuck out of Russian territory. I mean, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I will tell you the one thing about Putin that I really have to admire, absolutely, is when everyone expects him to do something, he doesn't do it. He keeps everybody off balance. And when you say, well, he invaded, we knew he was going to invade. Yeah, you've been screaming, everybody in the Western media was screaming he was going to invade. He will invade within 24 hours. Been screaming that shit since the end of November. And he waited to the end of February to do it. Now, the interesting thing is, I got the date wrong. I figured that the date was going to be prior to 23rd February. And there's a reason for that, and significance. 23rd of February is Defender of the Motherland Day. Basically, it's been bastardized into kind of a National Men's Day. But traditionally, that was the day, it was like Veterans Day here. You pay homage to the people who are willing to fight and defend their country. I figured it would happen that day. I honestly did. Apparently I was wrong, because they went on the 24th. So when you expect Putin to do something, don't be let down when he doesn't do it. Not a very predictable guy. Not a very predictable guy. And I think this is one thing that just absolutely drives the West batty. All right, let's talk about speculation for a moment, because this seems to be just a day that, number one, I'm going to eat crow. Number two, I want to talk about some interesting lights that apparently are appearing in various regions of Russia. Lights in Belgorod, Moscow, Murmansk, and Omsk, which I happen to have a fondness and attraction for. The Siberian city, which was once the second capital of Russia. It was the white capital of Russia during the Russian Civil War. These large columns of light shooting into the sky. And actually in Moscow, they've even observed these things in daylight. There's all sorts of pictures on Telegram of these things shooting straight into the air. Now, none of this is verified, so this is why I'm definitely going with the speculation part of this. The word is, and again, unverified, that this is some sort of counter-satellite measures that are pinpointed at Western intelligence satellites to either A, make them unable to gather information from the ground because they're being hit directly with high intensity light, which will kind of ruin a lot of their photographic capabilities and intelligence gathering. Or this just may be simply, hey, NATO, we know where your satellites are. Have a look. We've just pinpointed your satellites. And it's interesting for me, whichever it is, and it may not be any of that. It just may be a bluff. I don't know. Interesting that the U.S. and all these other countries are keeping quiet about it. Just much like the press is trying to bury the story about the U.S. attack on the Nord Stream pipelines. Don't want to talk about it. No. Don't want to talk about that because they don't want to admit they've done it. So I find everything interesting. I'm not going to panic. I'm not invested. Well, I am invested in the fact that Russia's going to win because it's just not comprehensible it's going to happen that they don't. But if it does, I'll be the first to eat crow. Absolutely. I wonder how many of you pro-Ukrainian folks that like to stalk me, I wonder how many of you guys are going to eat crow if and when the Zelensky government's toppled and Ukraine surrenders. Because right now that's how this ends. Because Zelensky's already said he can't talk to Putin. Putin's not going anywhere. Hate to say it, folks, Putin's not going anywhere. The only way Putin's going to go somewhere is if he refuses to take measures to end the war. And when I say end the war, I mean with a Russian victory. The worst thing for Putin right now, politically, is not to win this. And that's not going to happen. Now, interestingly enough, there seems to be all this, hand-wringing going on about Putin and nuclear weapons. I was able to go back. The nuclear weapons thing is an invention of the West. You can go back and type in Russia, Ukraine, nuclear weapons, and 2022, go to March, you'll find articles. You'll find stuff from the UK government. You'll find all sorts of links, opinion pieces about the Russians using nuclear weapons. Now, interestingly enough, this doesn't have anything to do with Putin's comments. No. We only accuse him now for 8-9 months of getting ready to use nuclear weapons. And he makes a few comments that, hey, if we got to use nuclear weapons, we'll use them. And everybody loses their collective shit. It's almost like they tried to bait. This whole thing has been one giant bait for Putin. And they keep trying to bait him. They keep trying to bait him. And the interesting thing is people destroy their arguments and then Putin reacts. So I find all of it humorous. I find all of it rather delightful. And I will tell you, I think there's going to be a lot of upset people, and it isn't going to be too much longer. Now, for those of you who think that support of Ukraine is very, very important, and that's who we are, and that's what we need to do, enjoy your higher gas prices. Enjoy your higher electric bills. I think it's really funny that they accuse the Russians of weaponizing energy, yet I seem to remember we've had a few wars for oil in the last 20 years, control of energy infrastructure. That seems to be the new NATO EU thing, is controlling infrastructure of energy. In other words, we're not going to let you export oil if we don't want you to export oil. In fact, we're going to make it so you can't ship it. Interestingly enough, I don't think you got to worry about shipping a whole lot more, because it seems that OPEC is now going to reduce their production. Yes, they're going to reduce their production. Now, you already crying you're in an energy crisis? Let's see what happens when there's even less energy to go around. Because I don't think you folks grasp the shit show you're causing yourselves. It's rather stupid. And we got Pedo Joe, Pedo Hitler. Pedo Hitler doesn't want to drill for oil in this country. He doesn't want to do this for energy self-sufficiency. He don't want to do anything. Well, you guys are going to pay for it. The people who are paying for this are the Republicans who allowed the sham election of Potato to be enshrined, and the very relatively few of you guys who voted for Mr. Potato Head. Dude, you're getting what you got. And when they can't afford to make toilet paper anymore, and you people are losing your shit all over that, I'm going to sit back and laugh at you. I'm going to sit back and laugh at you. Because I don't need the same things you need to survive. I'm not to the point where I have to have the same things. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like electricity. I kind of like being able to use nice things, but you know what? I'm also old enough to appreciate sitting around a fire, poking at the embers, cooking over open flame. I kind of can appreciate just about all that. So for a lot of you folks aren't wired like that. You've got to have your Facebook. You've got to have your internet. You've got to have all this shit. And you won't know how to deal with yourselves if you don't have that stuff. And I think you're about to have a very, very sad and rude awakening, because you're going to have to decide what's more important. Whether you want to have electricity, or whether you want to have gas to drive to work, or whether you want to buy overpriced food. I'm not really too worried about it. If I can stay home, I can stay home. If I need food, I know where to go to the forest and get it. A lot of you folks don't have that availability. And I think you might want to start thinking about how to get that availability. Anyhow, folks, I'll talk at you all later. Sad to sound a little, sorry if I come off a little doomy gloomy, but them's the breaks, man. So hopefully we'll see if there's no news tomorrow. I know that I got a little family trip planned tomorrow, and I'm not going to give you any details until after the trip is over, because I got some cool stuff going on tomorrow for the kids. So anyhow, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.